Hey guys, I'm Pixel Dan, and this is a review of the Masters of the Universe Classics, Swiftwind. She-Ra's faithful steed has finally arrived, and much like the She-Ra figure, Mattel has opted to go with the design of the character from the classic Filmation cartoon series. So how does this very first horse in the Classics line measure up? We're about to find out. Swiftwind comes packaged in a very large window box showcasing the horse within. The box is in a similar style to other larger scale beasts and figures that we've already received, but this is the first time we've received this large square style. The box features a Princess of Power logo right on the front to signify that this character is right out of the She-Ra line. The back of that box features a look at other characters already released, namely all Horde and other Princess of Power figures. The bottom features a photo of the Swiftwind figure, along with a brand new bio for the character. I think what really caught my attention right away was the overall size of this figure. With the action figures in this line standing around 7 inches in height, Swiftwind had to be pretty big. But I don't think I realized just how big until I actually opened up the box. He stands approximately 8 inches tall, and he has a wingspan of 18 inches from the tip of one wing to the other. He actually looks incredibly impressive, especially with his wings spread out for flight. The detailing on this figure is really incredible. The Four Horsemen did a pretty amazing job of capturing the actual anatomy of a horse. The muscle structure and even the little veins on the sculpt really bring a lifelike feel to the figure. It's brought out even more so by the nice light shading used to make those details really pop. The wings, saddle, and mask are all very brightly colored with pinks and blues. The paint job is pretty clean for the most part, but unfortunately I do have a rather large blue paint streak right on Swifty's neck, right above the articulation point. I am hoping that this is not going to be a common issue. Alright, so let's take a closer look at Swiftwind. Now, Swiftwind being a horse in the line, first horse, obviously there's a lot of brand new stuff going on here. So let's take a look at how all of the articulation and all of the accessories work on this figure. Now, Swiftwind, as mentioned, comes with these massive wings. And the cool part about this is that the wings are fully articulated. They do have a ball joint in there, and they can rotate, so you can spin them around, and you can fold them in and make them flap, and as you can see, the wings are removable. It's one thing I wanted to talk about on this. They do connect via these small pegs, and the wings can pop off very easily just by inserting into the little holes under the side of the horse, and they pop back in. Except with my left wing here, it does have a tendency to pop out a lot easier than the right wing. I'm not sure why that is. I've noticed, even while posing them to take photos for this review, that the right wing does tend to move around pretty easy with no problems. The left wing falls right out of socket. So I'm hoping that this is just an issue with my particular one here. It still locks in fine, it still works great for display, and it's still functional, so it's not like it's ruining the functionality. It just doesn't seem to have as tight of a grip on the left side as it does the right side. But otherwise, the wings do work really well. They fold up and down, they fold outwards, they move great. You can pop them out. If you don't want to use the wings on the horse, you can start developing your spirit here. So the wings do come off, as does the mask and the saddle itself. The saddle has a strap on the bottom. It just has a little peg hole. Works just like a lot of the armor on a lot of the figures. It can just snap right off, and you can pull the saddle right off. And the mask just sits on the face, and it's very easy to remove. It's actually just form-fitted to the face of the figure. So it's real easy to pop on, and it doesn't fall off, so you don't have to worry about it fallen off or anything like that. It seems to lock on really well. And no pegs, so it just sits right on his face. Unfortunately, the neck piece, the bridle, whatever you want to call it, does not come off the figure. In fact, it's also made of a very hard plastic, whereas the rest of the stuff is all softer, more pliable. This here actually feels kind of like the same plastic that the rest of the horse is made out of, and it is non-removable. It looks like it's probably just an extra piece glued on. I don't think it's part of the actual sculpt, but it does not come off. It is stuck on there. So I don't know if it can be worked to be removed, but it's on there pretty good. So unfortunately, we can't really come down to having a full Spirit. You can get them down without the wings. Of course, you're going to have the holes in the side. It doesn't look terrible, I guess. I do kind of wish there were like some little plugs or something we can put in there just to cover the holes a little bit. And if we could just remove that, I mean, it would be perfect. We would be able to go from Spirit to Swiftwind, no problem. Otherwise, this is pretty much the best you're going to get out of it. Still not bad. Not perfect, though, either. So as far as the articulation goes, the horse can actually move quite a bit. You've got neck movement allowing you to go up and down, and then you've got movement actually at the head too. So you can kind of tilt the head downwards, move the neck up and down. The hair is actually very solid up here. It reminds me a lot of how She-Ra's hair is really solid, so it does not move. It is stuck kind of in that blowing position, but it still looks fine for what it is. All of the legs are jointed in many places, so they can move forward and backward on the back legs and the front legs, and they're nice and tight. All of the joints are real tight. They kind of have that locking feel to them, so they kind of click through on the articulation. So they're real solid. You don't have to worry about the legs giving out underneath him. He's got some twist, a little bit of twist going on there too, which is really nice. You can see the feet kind of twist at the hoof, and they also do rock back and forth. You can actually hear the clicking of the joints. That's how nice and tight they are. That is great. So you can actually get some good poses out of them. And one thing that's fun, you can actually you can find a good way to lean him back on his tail. You can get a nice bucking pose going on. It's really kind of cool. And you can actually, look, you can actually get him to stand like that. Use that tail as balance. That's a really cool pose. So that's pretty neat that you're able to do that. You do have to kind of play with him a little bit to find the right pose in the leg to get him to stand. He has a tendency to kind of fall over sideways if you don't have his feet just right. Although that seems to be the same kind of problem I had with Battle Cat and Panther. So it's nothing bad. It's just you got to make sure you pose the legs the right way. The tail also moves up and down, so you can have it just laying down, you can have it blowing back for when he's running, just up and down movement and side to side movement. So it's pretty nice. You actually got quite a bit of articulation there, a lot of different posing options for him. So let's get to the part that I know you guys really want to see. What does She-Ra look like sitting on Swiftwind? Let's get all the parts put back on here, just so we can kind of make our full horse. All right, so the saddle, you'll notice the way that it's sculpted, it actually does have the indentions on the front and the back. Very similar to the saddle that was on Battle Cat. Now that's not really necessary for She-Ra, because the way, at least She-Ra 2.0, the way her new skirt functions, she does get a wider stance with her legs, allowing her to sit on there just fine. And the dress doesn't even really seem to dip into those joints. So my thought is that the reason they put those little divots in there is so that you can sit some of the other figures on the horse. So we'll check that out in just a second. But let's go ahead and we'll put the wings on. We'll do the whole 9 yards here. Fully turn them into Swiftwind so you can get the full idea of how the figure sits on there. And I do have my, there you go, that's what I'm talking about, the balance. You got to find the right pose for those legs to get them to stand up, which I am apparently not good at. All right, so I have my She-Ra 2.0. My perfected She-Ra, Filmation head, Filmation sword. Got the new movement in the legs, and you can see that because she's got that wider stance, she sits very nicely right on Swiftwind's back. And then we can fold the wings out, we can fold the wings back. The wings are still able to fold, except for when I pop it off. The wings are still able to fold even though her legs are on the side, so you can pose her up. And there we have She-Ra on her steed. How incredibly cool does that look? So the functionality is really great. She-Ra sits on it with no problem. No problems whatsoever. She's nice and tight there. It doesn't lock in or anything like that, but she sits great. I mean, the balance is really well. So why don't we say we check out some of the other figures, see how they function on there. Maybe we want He-Man to ride Swiftwind. Now this kind of works perfect with those little the little divots in the saddle, because his loincloth fits right in there, and He-Man's had a little too much to drink. He's fallen off the horse. All right, there we go. He-Man on Swiftwind. So we can get He-Man on there. Or how about Teela, the other heroic female? What if she wants to go for a ride on Swiftwind? Well, crazy enough, even with that hard skirt that she's wearing, she can still straddle the horse very nicely. And there we go. We have Teela on Swiftwind. Maybe like, I don't know, what if we got like the Flash? I don't know. DC Universe Classics, why not? Yeah, why not? Those guys can ride Swiftwind too. Pretty much any figure that's going to be able to get that leg, the wide stance with their legs, you're going to be able to fit on Swiftwind here. She-Ra 2.0, maybe not so much, or I'm sorry, She-Ra 1.0, not so much. Her skirt is a lot more solid. The articulation in the legs doesn't really allow her to sit on it. As you'll see in just a minute, I did try it out. Doesn't work so well. So thank goodness Mattel gave us She-Ra 2.0. But there we go. There's our Swiftwind.
Alright guys, it's comparison time. Here's Swiftwind alongside his vintage counterpart. Of course, there's a pretty big difference in the overall look, since the vintage toy was more pink and white, and the classics version is based on the look of the character as he appeared in the Filmation cartoon series. Overall, I'm very impressed with Swiftwind. The sculpt on this one is absolutely amazing, and it's great finally giving She-Ra her faithful steed. I do wish that the bridle on the front were removable and that Mattel maybe found a way to cover up the holes from the wings so that we could have a proper spirit for display with our Adora. However, hopefully this does open up some possibilities for future releases. Perhaps getting Arrow for Bo or Storm for Catra. Maybe we can even see some royal horses for King Randor. It's a terrific sculpt and definitely should get reused somewhere down the road. Swiftwind will be available in November 2011 on MattyCollector.com and is part of the Eternia Collectors Club subscription. Until next time,